and to the tech crew for making everything happen. And thank you to the teachers who brought your classes here today. So my class especially. Just kidding. Okay, so obligatory turn off your technology speech right now. All right. Take out your iPads, take out your phones, turn it off. Don't turn on vibrate. Turn it off, please. It will interfere with the sound system. Today, we welcome Kevin Pang to Fremd's Writers Week. Kevin is a reporter for the Chicago Tribune, focusing on food, comedy, and pop culture. He has contributed to Vanity Fair, ESPN Magazine, and NPR's This American Life. Follow him on Twitter, @Pang, if you're interested, for local food tips, peeks inside his writing process, and hilarious commentary on pop culture. So let's give a warm welcome to Kevin Pang.
Hello, Palatine. I just want to see, first of all, I thought this was going to be like in front of 40 people, so this is just blowing my mind how many people are here right now. And whenever I'm in a room this big, I always try to have some sort of like connection and see if this works. So if you all just indulge me for a second and just try this with me, okay? Everyone hold out your hands like this, okay? Everyone hold out their hands, got it? Now point your thumbs down, so it's pointing down, okay? Now everyone take your left hand and reach over your right hand, okay? Remember left over right, and then clasp your hands and make sure they're pointing down, okay? Everyone make sure it's pointing down, got it? Pointing down, okay? Now, everyone do this with me, okay? Slowly move your hand so that your thumb points up. Anyone? No? Okay, good. We're all in sync. We're all in sync. That's good. You, right here in the red. Come on up, come on up, come on. Come over here a second. Don't worry, I promise I will not embarrass you. You know why I pointed at you uncomfortably and made you come up here? I feel like we could be BFFs. I know we just met like 6 seconds ago, but I feel we have a connection. I don't know why. This is not in a weird way, but this is why. Now, let's say, give me like a name of your friend you hang out with on Friday night. Maddie, okay? Cool. Shout out to Maddie. So, does this ever happen to you, Hannah? You say it's like Friday night, you're thinking, I want to go see the movies, and you're thinking, I'm going to text Maddie and, see what she's doing. Right when you're about to pick up your phone, ping, you get a text message from Maddie, as if you guys are like on the same wavelength. Does this ever happen to you? Yeah. This happens to you, right? Does this happen to everyone here? Yeah. It's like you guys are thinking on some weird psychic cosmic level. I feel like we're on that same cosmic level too. I know, we just met 17 seconds ago, but I feel we have that. So, do you have your phone with you? It's in your, okay, you can use my phone if you want. This is a standard issue iPhone, okay? I'm just gonna go to the stopwatch function, okay? Stopwatch. You're gonna hold this for me for a second. Now, we're gonna try this for a second. So, I've got a deck of cards here. I'll give it a shuffle. Make sure this is fair. Now, they're all different cards, right? Perfect. Now, this is what we're gonna do. I've got a prediction right here. I'm not gonna share what it is, but I'm just gonna place this right here. Now, Hannah, in a second, I'm gonna ask you to press start. Not just yet. Anytime you want, I want you to press stop, but you're not gonna press stop when you want to. I am going to psychically transmit the word stop to you. You're gonna feel it, but I'm not gonna tell you when, okay? So, it's gonna be under a minute. We don't want to be here for the next 20 minutes, just you standing on stage waiting for the press stop, okay? But it's gonna be under a minute, so I'm gonna say start, you're gonna start, and then when you feel me sending you that psychic stop, press stop, and then yell out stop. Okay. Cool? Okay, I'm gonna stand right here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And press start, go. Oh, you said okay? A long time ago? Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, I totally screwed this one up. No, that's fine. How many seconds was this? 40 seconds, okay? Now, let me try this. Now, you stop this at any time, right? You stop this at 40 seconds, right? Let me try this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. If you would have stopped at 39 seconds, you would have gotten 2 parts. If you would have stopped at 42 seconds or 41 seconds, you would have gotten to 3 parts. You stopped at exactly 40 seconds. The card that you came up was the Jack of Diamonds. Anna, I think we're going to be best friends. Nice job. Great job. Wow. You are good. I can't believe we're like on sync in some weird cosmic level. That's amazing. So why did I waste your time showing you a dumb magic trick? Well, let me tell you why. Because this sort of fits into why I became a writer and sort of my tips, I suppose, of leading a happier life and perhaps becoming a better writer. I was 6 years old and I saw a magician do this and I was completely mesmerized. I ended up buying every trick and every book that I could find. I went to magic shops and I think in my 25, 26 years that I've been doing magic, or ever since I was interested, I must have spent over $10,000 in just buying books and tricks. So I was in high school and I did my talent show, and I won my talent show by doing magic tricks. I made money through college going to Greek Row and performing for drunk sorority and drunk fraternity members who decided to pay me a stupid amount of money because they were obviously drunk. And in the interest of full disclosure, I use magic tricks to meet girls, and it actually works. So the point of this, what I'm trying to say, is that I found an obsession that, you know, some people might think it's weird, some people might think it's funny, but I owned that obsession. And among my circle of friends, I became better at magic tricks than anyone. I became the preeminent expert within my social circle. Now the thing is, I used to be embarrassed by that. I used to, not want to tell anyone about this. I would practice at home in my bedroom and not show anyone. And, I thought that I really didn't do much of it in high school until that talent show, because I always thought, well, you have to be within a certain, certain circle of friends, or I thought that you had to be like within a certain, social circle. You had to be in sports, you had to be in band, you had to be Navy Club, whatever, but magic wasn't one of them. So I really didn't do that. And then, I guess what I'm trying to say is the best advice that I ever received as a writer and as a person is to own your obsessions. Do you like baking? Do you like yo-yo tricks? Are you into Irish step dancing? Take ownership and be defiantly proud of that. The reason why I say this is because as a newspaper writer and a magazine writer, there's a lot of people who know a little about a lot of different things, right? But there's something to be said about becoming an expert in something, becoming an authority. So I'll give you an example. I write about food for the Chicago Tribune, and every week I get emails from people saying, how do I become a food writer? And when I ask them, what do you want to write about? They'll say, well, I want to review burgers, pizzas like you, and, do kind of cheap food, tacos. The problem is that everyone is doing the same thing. I don't know if you ever go on food blogs, but you're going to find a million blogs that are writing pretty much the same thing. And the question is, how do they stand out? So if you find something that no one else is doing, for example, if you want to become a food writer, learn about Northern Thai cuisine. Become the expert in Oaxacan food. One of my friends started this blog and got a book deal out of it. What did he do? He took the waffle iron and made things besides waffle in a waffle iron. Have any of you guys tried a waffle cheeseburger before? It's absolutely amazing. You should try it sometime. There's this blog called Will It Waffle. It's just like amazing. You can make hot dogs, pineapple upside down cake. It's pretty crazy. So that's what I mean by owning to your obsessions. because you are your own best story. So I'm interested in magic. And 10 years ago, I was the only one who, because I was in this circle of magicians and I knew people like that, I came across this stocks trader, and he quit his high-paying job to perform magic in hospitals. And I figured, well, no one in the newsroom could write about this guy. Maybe I should write about it because I know this world so much. So I thought it'd be interesting to profile this guy. So I'm going to read a couple stories today, and I figured I'd start with this one. And this is a story that I wrote 10 years ago about a magician, a hospital magician, and one of his patients. So this was in the Chicago Tribune in June of 2005. A wire snakes from the EKG monitor, swoops past a rolling cart with a chocolate milk and orange wedges, up the bed, past the pink teddy bear and around Sarah's thumb. Inside room 504 at Rush Children's Hospital, the EKG monitor blips. Sarah's heart is beating normally, 88 times a minute. Hi, I'm Mike, a hospital magician. Would you like to see some close-up magic? Sure, Sarah says. She's 11 with sandy blonde hair and wire-rimmed glasses. The heart monitor pulses. 88, 88, 89. Mike Walton hands her the 4 of hearts and asks her to hold the playing card between her palms. Walton is holding the jack of spades. Slowly, he waves his card in tiny circles. 87, 87. Sarah turns over her card, the jack of spades. Walton is now holding the 4 of hearts. What the? Sarah says. Holy cow! The heart monitor jumps. 98, instantaneously, like magic. Walton, 35 years old, is not the kind to pull rabbits out of hats or saw assistants in half. He's a close-up magician, a one-man walking act starring only his 2 hands. After most tricks, kids ask him, how do you do that? But Walton never tells. The first rule of magic, never reveal your secrets. At the same time, there are questions Walton doesn't ask the children. Why are you in a hospital? Will you be all right? 2 kids he performed for died shortly after his visits. One girl's left arm was amputated at the shoulder just weeks after Walton showed her a card trick. Quote, I probably couldn't handle it week after week, he said. My job is to not feel sorry for these kids. The focus is always on the magic. Walton left his future market trading job 2 years ago to start his nonprofit group called Open Heart Magic. He spends 50 hours a week performing, pitching to prospective sponsors, and teaching the 7 volunteer magicians who work children's hospitals throughout Chicago. Walton saw more than 600 kids last year. He'd get his list of patients every week, perform for them, then leave. Most kids are at the hospital for a week or 2 before checking out. Week after week, though, one name kept appearing on the list, Arthur. For the first time he met 15-year-old in November, Walton knew he loved performing for him. He digs that Arthur laughed, and more importantly, Arthur hadn't figured out any of his secrets. Arthur's favorite trick involved a deck of cards and a matchbox. Arthur would select the card, sign it, and replace it in the deck. The cards were divided into 3 piles, and whichever pile he placed the matchbox on, the card would appear on top. Then Arthur chose the middle pile. The top card was turned over, and it was the wrong card. Walton searched through the deck in vain. It was nowhere to be found. He asked Arthur to peek inside the matchbox, and there, folded up, was Arthur's signed card. To Walton, Arthur was just another kid who stayed at the hospital longer than most. The way he saw it, the more time Arthur spent here, the more tricks Walton had to learn. What was to be a short stay for Arthur became a few weeks, then a month, which turned into 2. Christmas passed, then New Year's came, and there was Arthur on the 5th floor of the children's ward, and Walton wondering how many more tricks he could possibly learn. When Arthur was first hospitalized, he was more concerned with catching up on homework than being bothered by visitors. But for some reason, he was curious about magic. In photographs taken for the hospital newsletter, Walton is perched over Arthur's bed, flicking and shuffling playing cards with Arthur, his mother, Tina, watching. There's Arthur in the pictures, the boyish teen with the buzz-cut hair, the 10th grader at De La Salle Institute, an avid fan of basketball, Hugo Boss cologne, and PlayStation, who, when he could still eat solid foods, enjoyed steak cut into strips and cooked well done in a soft corn tortilla with a squeeze of lime. In the pictures, Arthur is laughing. It's a cross between a chuckle and a giggle. A chuggle, Walton calls it, a childlike laugh that belies Arthur's age. This was when Arthur was still on his feet, finding whoopee cushions and squirting water guns at nurses. But his condition got worse. Walton heard Arthur was transferred from the general ward to the intermediate ward. I don't want to know, Walton said. It doesn't matter. When Walton couldn't think of any other tricks to show, he taught Arthur some instead. So for 5 minutes, there were no doctors adjusting tubes in Arthur's abdomen. It was just Walton taking Arthur to a place where there were no CT scans, no epidurals, no camera down to Arthur's esophagus. When beginning magicians start out, they learn about an important principle: mastering the art of misdirection. This is the second rule of magic: divert attention from where you don't want them to look. The hallways in the children's ward are bright with aquariums filled with tropical fish, children's artwork, video game consoles, and the sound of a toy playing Bach's Minuet in G. But the illusion eventually fades. Patients are reminded exactly where they are. One girl is wearing a bright pink t-shirt that reads, "Cancer sucks." By early February, there were more tubes and more wires and machines attached to Arthur. When Walton performed one morning, Arthur tried his best to crack a smile, but his eyes barely opened. He wasn't at a spot where he could see magic, Walton said afterward. The next week, there were more doctors in the room. Walton knocked. Through the window, Arthur shook his head, no. Walton couldn't believe it. In 3 months of visits, Arthur had never refused to see him. So Walton broke his own rule and asked a hospital colleague about Arthur's condition. The answers he got weren't answers at all. They were unsatisfying, unsettling, vague. Arthur's not feeling well. He's sedated and not on his feet. The following week, Arthur's name was missing from his list of patients. When Walton was done performing for the others, he stopped by Arthur's room, but Arthur was not there. Over the weekend, he was transferred to the intensive care unit. Walton arrived at room 533 and found Arthur. Walton waved wildly at him through the glass partition, but Arthur shook his head, no. For someone who absolutely loves magic, this can't be good, Walton said, walking away. Maybe he's not doing well, or maybe he's too busy. Walton was wearing his "what me worry" button, but he was thinking and thinking some more. When you don't see progress, I'm not used to it. Sometimes Walton wondered if he'd ever have children of his own. He had discussed it with his wife Sue, whom he met 10 years ago while they served in the Peace Corps in Estonia. The two would go on long runs along Lakeshore Drive when their minds were clearest. If we chose not to have children, there are a lot of experiences we're really going to miss out on, Sue told her husband. Walton tried to put Arthur out of his mind. Other patients deserve equal attention. In March, doctors decided Arthur needed surgery. He had not been outside since his hospital stay had begun, 4 days before Halloween. On that overcast Wednesday night, Arthur woke up screaming with pain in his abdomen and was taken to Rush University Medical Center. Doctors diagnosed pancreatitis, an inflammation of the pancreas. The pancreas produces enzymes that help digest fat, proteins, and carbohydrates. In Arthur's body, the pancreatic fluid wasn't flowing to the right places. It's as if a meat tenderizer had taken to his organs. He could no longer eat. Patients with pancreatitis generally recovered quickly, but Arthur was suffering from lupus, an immune system disorder, so his pancreatitis had not subsided. To mitigate the symptoms of lupus, Arthur was taking steroids, but because that causes bone density loss, Arthur had a compound stress fracture in his spine. He could not walk. There were times when the setbacks made Tina, his mother, want to scream. Instead, she spent a lot of time praying, often at the hospital chapel on the first floor. With the father out of the picture, Tina spent every free moment she could with her only child. After working on weekends, they watched movies like Miracle and Napoleon Dynamite. She was there every time doctors asked Arthur to rate his pain on a scale of 1 to 10. On the morning of his surgery, Arthur handed his mother a cross hanging on a string of beads. "You have to wear it," Arthur told his mom. "That's what Grandma said." Arthur's eyes opened and shut as the anesthetic took effect. A nurse ran her head across Arthur's hair and, her voice cracking, told him he's going to do great. Walton was learning a new routine for Arthur, a trick pack of cards called the Svengali deck. It's the third rule of magic: never show the same trick twice. Inside the family waiting room on the 5th floor, Walton rehearsed. Riffle the cards, pick a card, put it back in the middle, make a magic gesture and produce a card on top of the deck. When Walton went to the hospital the following week, Arthur wasn't on the list of patients. Walton walked past room 533 and saw him sound asleep. Arthur was sleeping again when Walton visited the next week. What's the point of devoting so much energy? 2 months had gone by since Walton last performed for Arthur. He had seen more than 50 kids during that time. And then, one day in early April, there was a familiar name on the top of the list. Arthur, 15, room 510. Arthur had moved out of the intensive care unit and into the intermediate ward. "Hey, check it out," Walton said. "Arthur's here. He's down the good aisle." Walton saw Arthur's nurse standing outside and started a conversation. He didn't know if Arthur was in the mood for visitors. Maybe he'd forgotten about Walton. "Sometimes he doesn't feel like seeing me," Walton said. The nurse replied, "But he wants to." Walton walked in, and there was Arthur watching TV. "Hey, congratulations on the move. I hear the food is much better here," Walton said. "You want to see something?" He pulled out the Svengali deck. Arthur picked a card, the ace of hearts, and he replaced it somewhere in the middle. Walton gave the deck a shake, and the ace of hearts jumped to the top of the deck. Just to show the first time wasn't a fluke, he told Arthur to pick another card. Arthur picked the ace of hearts again. Walton showed Arthur that all the cards were different. Arthur picked another card, and again, the ace of hearts. Walton leaned in close, like he was about to tell him something important. He thumbed through the deck to show every single card had now changed into the ace of hearts. Top cards, middle cards, bottom cards, all ace of hearts. Arthur's eyes grew large. Want to learn how to do this? After he left Arthur's room, Walton sat in an empty hospital office and stared at the floor. For several minutes, he was deep in thought about the kids, about Arthur, and as he spoke, his voice broke. Kids shouldn't be thinking about disease and being stuck in hospitals. That's the way it should be, simply put. The only thing that keeps coming back, he's got that chuggle back. That's the way it should be. In late May, on the 210th day after Arthur woke up in the middle of the night screaming, he left Children's Hospital for a clinic to rehabilitate his spine. As a going-away gift to the doctors and nurses he now calls friends, he did what now comes naturally to him. Arthur put on a magic show. In doing so, he drew on Walton's gift to him. When Walton revealed the secrets of the Svengali deck, he brought Arthur into his inner circle. That very moment, Walton saw his patient as more than just a name on a list. When Arthur nodded, marveling at the workings of the trick deck, the two became brothers in the fraternity of magicians, instantaneously, almost like magic. Thank you. So now I figure we can sort of pivot and switch from talking about something as serious as a hospital magician and diseases to sort of the funner part of my job. And this segues into another part of, I suppose, tips for just becoming a better writer and also, I guess, to a better life as well, which is to be curious, to follow your nose, because those always lead to happy surprises. Now, part of me being a features writer is experiencing things that most people can't. I mean, I got to spend 6 months and watch this hospital magician and watch him live his life and see this relationship with this young 15-year-old change and then, grow to what it is today. And I mean, to me, that's a real privilege and especially for our readers, to be able to live vicariously through those stories. It's really an amazing honor and something that I don't take for granted. So sometimes when I look for good stories, I always ask myself, how do I put myself in the most uncomfortable situation? And how will I react to that? Those fish out of water stories can sometimes be very entertaining. Now, I'll just read to you some of the stories. These are actual stories that I wrote for the Chicago Tribune in the last 10 years that I've been working there. You can Google them, they're actually real. So for example, one of my food stories, I went to Beijing and I went to a restaurant that specializes in penises. This was a restaurant that served nothing but animal penises. Horse penis, donkey penis. I'm not kidding. Sheep penis, ox penis. I ate all of them. You can look it up. Thank you for the light applause for that. I don't know why you clapped. Another story that I wrote, I spent 2 days in prison. This was last year. And the whole idea was I want to write about what food was like inside prison. So I went to the chow hall and I ate with the inmates and I watched them make dishes like prison chicken nuggets. It's really gross. Prison cake, kind of amazing, but I'll tell you the most amazing recipe that I found. This guy, he really likes Chinese food, okay? So what he did was he took pork rinds, like the stuff that you can get at 7-Eleven, and you can buy all these foods like pork rinds, beef jerky, potato chips from commissary. He took pork rinds and then he took tropical punch Kool-Aid. And he mixed a little bit of water with the tropical punch Kool-Aid, and then he threw it in a garbage bag, and then he microwaved it for 6 minutes. And then he put it over instant rice. You know what that dish was? Prison sweet and sour pork. It's really, it's kind of gross, but when you haven't had sweet and sour pork in 10 years, it's better than nothing. So, my favorite thing that I ever did was in 2009, I spent the entire year eating cheeseburgers. And when I mean that, I actually mean literally, I spent the entire year 2009 eating nothing but cheeseburgers. I went to something like 80 different restaurants, and I went all throughout Chicago trying to hunt the best cheeseburgers in Chicago. It's actually on YouTube. It's called The Cheeseburger Show. It also was on CLTV for a while. Now, there's one thing, probably my favorite thing that I ever did, was I went to this late night Lincoln Park hot dog stand called the Wiener Circle. Have you guys heard of the Wiener Circle? You guys seen like Conan O'Brien, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, went to the Wiener Circle? So I did that, and they're really famous for their, shall we say, angry, swearing, vulgar ladies. When you talk to them, they talk back to you. And so I decided to go there with a hidden camera and annoy the crap out of them. And I was actually going to show that to you today. However, the version on TV was bleeped out. There is an unedited version online. This was the version I was going to show you. However, being there's so many minors in this room, and I feel guilty about showing you something that is so vulgar, and I feel bad about showing you something where a woman named Poochie decides to use the F word 127 times, and then proceeded to say wax on, wax off to me, and then proceeded me afterward, and then I poured a bag of pennies onto the counter, and then she got really mad. It would be irresponsible for me to do so. So I ask you if you'll promise me, if you'll pledge that after this is over, do not go on YouTube and do not type in Cheeseburger Show, Wiener Circle Uncensored, and do not watch this filth, because it would be really irresponsible for me to do so. Okay? Promise? Right. So, two more stories. I brought actually two more stories, but I'm not sure we have all the time, so I'm just going to read one of them. So, by a show of hands, or actually just by applause, tell me which story you would rather hear, okay? Here's the first story. This was the time after the Super Bowl 5 years ago, Denny's decided to offer free Grand Slam breakfast to everyone. So I ate 5 Grand Slam breakfasts in 3 hours. That's the first story. Okay? Here's story number 2. This is about the time I hung out with the male strippers from Australia's Thunder from Down Under. All right. I think the strippers win. I don't know why. Where are you guys' minds at today? So is it okay if I read you that story about the time I hung out with Thunder from Down Under? Okay, here we go. So here's the angle with this particular story. It'd be really easy to just watch them and take the clothes off and yada yada. It's really funny. By the way, I was going to say it is a PG story. It ran in the Chicago Tribune, so it's not that filthy. A couple of risque things, but I think you guys can handle it. But I think an interesting angle was these guys obviously had no trouble getting any girls they want. So I figured an interesting angle would be, let's talk about love, because do these guys actually fall in love, or do they just think, are they just dating around? So this was a story that was published 3 years ago in the Chicago Tribune about strippers. I got a lot of angry emails too, but who cares? All right, here we go. We briefly discuss love, not puppy love or tainted love, but love that wobbles your knees and breaks your heart. Maybe one day Ben will find the one. Who knows? She'd be in the audience tonight, and their eyes will catch, and their bodies will float toward each other like some movie dream sequence, the rest of the room melting away until only she and he exist. Maybe. It is then agreed upon that searching for love is futile, especially if you're a good-looking 24-year-old bloke, as Ben is, and the world is a proverbial oyster. Quote, I'm not looking, plus you don't decide that, says Ben Hardy in the upstairs dressing room at Joe's Bar on Weed Street. With our lifestyle, this active social life, it's going to be that one lady who'll stop you dead in your tracks, and you'll know. 2 grown men talking about romance and life. It's a beautiful moment that I would capture in a bottle, and, oh wait, there's Stephen to my right, naked but for black briefs, hunched over with 1 foot on a chair, shaving his inner thigh with an electric razor. Well then. Love Schmo. This is the brutal, unjust reality for the men of Thunder from Down Under, the Chippendales-esque male review in the midst of a 3-month, 42-show residency at Joe's Bar. Throngs of women, picture the Ed Sullivan audience when the Beatles came to town, pay up to $60 each to watch them strip to their skivvies and touch their abs. The novelty is that the cast hails from Australia, thereby exuding some exotic ideal of rugged outback kangaroo corrallers. But this is a false caricature. The 6 men of the touring cast don't drink Fosters, nor do they keep koalas as pets. They say shrimp on the Barbie as often as Chicagoans say bang bang Al Capone. They arrive at a North Avenue gym, not far from where they perform Friday nights and twice on Saturdays, to rehearse wearing board shorts, tank tops, and t-shirts one size too small. Nothing about them suggests Australia until they open their mouths. It is a superpower. Not until they say mate every other sentence or use words like grog, chunda, or drongo, do you realize their capacity to melt the hearts of American girls is a dangerous weapon. Here, in a floor-to-ceiling mirrored rehearsal space, they run through their opening number, a Motown medley beginning with the Four Tops' Reach Out, I'll Be There, wearing shiny red smoking jackets, bow ties casually undone, and segueing into Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine, black dress pants, bare chest. Every choreographed move is designed to 1, accentuate musculature, 2, convey suggestiveness, and 3, elicit unbridled screams. All was revealed during an intensive 4-week boot camp back home in Australia, where they're taught to live life the Thunder way. The Thunder way, it's a sense of self, says Hardy, who's also the show's MC. The show works because it's showing Aussie guys with a fun attitude. The show is, in essence, a Backstreet Boys concert with stripping in place of singing. It's even assembled like a boy band, each man molded into a distinct personality. Jesse is the huggable boy wonder, Stephen, the cheeky free spirit, Benny, the carnival barker, Adam, the rugged daddy type, Ada, the exotic beatboxer, and Dan, the quiet brooder. Much of the cast comes from Australia's Gold Coast, a sun-drenched surf town on the Pacific coast. There, the Thunder brand is a household name, something boys aspire to become a part of, in the same way an American kid might want to be Hulk Hogan. The question arises, and yes, they say they're all straight. And all the guys are single, says Adam Hughes, who serves as a player manager of the cast and is Mr. August in the 2010 Thunder calendar. It's a single guy's job. To maintain a relationship, you have to actually see them. The 3-month stay in Chicago is an anomaly. In September, they'll return to their life in a suitcase existence, hopping from casino to nightclub in rental cars, the very notion of home a foreign concept. But surely they have no trouble getting girls, anytime, anywhere, right? Here, they play coy. After the question is rephrased 3 times, Hardy sort of relents. Quote, "We're young, single, healthy Australian men with a shiny outlook on life," he says, wearing a scampish grin. "Obviously, the chances of you meeting more compatible souls is increased. We have a good time. We enjoy ourselves." Showtime, 8 p.m. Women in their Friday best file into the theater, where several large video screens shows Thunder cast members emerging from a pool in slow motion or standing in a barren desert landscape, also shirtless. Upstairs in the dressing room area, there's a waft of deodorant, Axe body spray, draft beer, and the smell of dude. Nearly every shirt hung on the wheeled clothes rack is stitched with Velcro for easy fastening and easier removing. A fair bit of preening goes on. Cocoa butter is applied on every inch of the body for that bronze sheen. Then, as the fog machines begins motoring on stage, the 6 men gather in a circle, hands in the middle like a basketball team in a locker room. They chant in unison. Feel the rhythm, feel the vibe. Look out, girls, it's Thunder time. Every romance novel cliche is played out in living color. Pop cultural references abound. 300, Pirates of the Caribbean. Old standbys like firefighters and cowboys are mainstays for a reason. Several moves are automatic squeal inducers. The slow hip gyration, always counterclockwise. The butt reveals. And the hip thrust. Oh, the hip thrust. Hardy, off stage with a microphone, provides the sonorous thunderclap each time they happen. The dance mosey on stage and kaboom, hip thrust. They purse their lips and slowly slide both hands down the front of their bodies. Kaboom, hip thrust. Oh, hello to all the pretty ladies in the audience. Kaboom, kaboom, kablam, hip thrust, hip thrust, hip thrust. The biggest crowd pleaser is called the reveal. Two hands grab the opening of the shirt, and with a rip of the Velcro, there's an explosion of chest and torso. White beams called downlights shine from above onto the performers' bodies, creating shadows that amplify the muscle. The show veers towards R-rated category, but never crosses it. Women pulled on stage seem to leave their inhibitions at coat check. They're offered what amounts to a lap dance, only the man grabbed their woman's hands and placed them firmly on the chest, basically saying, go for it. And they do. They laugh, then bury their faces in hands in uproarious embarrassment. Quote, you're in an environment where the girls are looking at you in awe, said Hughes, 39, who taught PE in a high school before joining the cast in 1995. There are too many jobs where people look at you like that. It's something I don't take for granted. Posts show the women's faces are uniformly flushed, perhaps from the rush of blood, perhaps from alcohol. A college-age woman named Caitlin said, these guys did the dirty work. Now it's swarming with girls in heat. It's like, guys, come and get us. The men are in jeans taking their curtain calls, shirtless, of course, and invite the audience to come on stage and take a Polaroid with them for $20. About 100 women do. Then they greet their waiting fans who request autographs and take free but shirt-on pictures with their camera phones. I'm talking with Jessie Shelley, a 24-year-old ex-rugby player known as Mr. Sixpack, when a pretty brunette backs her caboose towards his and starts rubbing up against him, back to back. I'm talking unadulterated, gratuitous rubbing. Jessie looks over his shoulder and shrugs it off with eyes that read, what are you gonna do? Thanks. So we have how many more minutes?
About 7.
7 minutes? Okay. So rather than read a story, I figured I would do the same thing as everyone. Now, who was here during the last period here? Okay, if you're here, don't spoil the fun, okay? But I'm just gonna ask you, who here is taking AP Physics or physics class? Anyone? Oh, you guys take physics? This is something that you can show to your friends at a party. It is, I feel, funny and stupid at the same time. So would you guys rather learn a sort of a fun party trick instead? Is that okay? Okay, cool. So, for the folks who take physics, what is it again? It's a force equals mass times acceleration. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to try this experiment with my tie. Okay, right here? Now, sit right here. Again, if you were here during the last period, please don't spoil it. So I have the fat part right here, and I have the skinny, shorter part. Now, knowing that force equals mass times acceleration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up the fat part right here, and I'm going to roll the skinny, shorter part here, okay? Now, I'm going to let go in a moment, both at once. Which one do you think is going to hit the bottom first? If you think it's going to be the fat part, please applause right now. Okay? If you think it's going to be the skinny part that's going to hit the bottom first, please applause. Okay? Now, are you guys ready? This is really important, okay? I'm going to let go, and it's going to fall, and we're going to see which one hits the bottom first, okay? Are you guys ready? Yeah. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. It's a tie. It's so stupid, but you know what? I kind of like it. Thank you so much for inviting me. This has been really fun, and good luck, and go enjoy the rest of the school day. Thanks.